Everyone, welcome back to the Triathlon channel. Today's video we're going to talk about what you need to get started in triathlon. So if you're watching, you've probably just got into triathlon or you are thinking about getting into triathlon. So welcome, and I'm going to break down what you do need and what is nice to have. Now you don't need as much as what you might think you do, so we're going to go through it in each discipline. So we'll look at the swim, the bike and the run, and exactly what equipment is essential, so you need to have to get started, and then what is nice to have. Now we won't go through everything what's nice to have because we'll be here all day. There's so much out there, and that's maybe why it can get a bit overwhelming and confusing as to what you really need. So like I say, you don't need a great deal to get started, but let's get straight into what you do need. So let's start off with the swim. What do you need to start swimming? So swimming, if you don't know, is the first of the three sports that you do, and you will need access to a swimming pool or open water. Now I wouldn't suggest open water if it's if you're new to swimming, or if it's your first time swimming. And if you're not confident enough, stay away from the open water initially. Build up some confidence in a pool. So we need access to a pool. So that's either through a gym membership or you can pay as you go in most of the gyms. From an equipment point of view, you need some swim shorts. It can be anything that you swim in. And like I say, we're going to keep this really basic, and the idea of it is to get into triathlon. You can start building up on the nice to haves as we go through. So let's look at the essentials. Pair of goggles. Now goggles, you can get them from pretty much anywhere, including supermarkets, etc. Everyone has their own personal preference. I use the Roka goggles. I've tried loads of different brands. They just really work for me. They're the big eyed ones as well, so I just really like them. Goggles, I would say, definitely are an essential. Then your swim shorts, obviously an essential because you can't swim without one. So that can be from a Speedo. You'll hear people talk about jammers, buoyancy shorts, etc. So there's so many different swimming trunks that you can use. But like I say, just your normal swimming costume can get you going with a pair of goggles. You might want a cap. I do wear one, and we'll go into why I wear one, but essentially you need some goggles and swim shorts and access to a swimming pool, and you're good to go. So let's look into what are nice to haves. Now I've done a whole video on different swimming bits of equipment. Now, like I said, you don't necessarily need a load of equipment to get started, but I'll show you some of the main ones that I use that I would say, although not essential, they are nice to have, but I would strongly advise getting one. So a pool buoy, that band on there is an ankle strap. That's you don't need, it's just where I store it. So pool buoy and some hand pads, and those are the two bits of equipment that I use the most. Then we can really get sort of into the nice to haves. Now I've got some Form swim goggles, and I've done a whole video on them as well, and I'll put the link below if you're interested. But these are smart swim goggles, and they, like I say, are a nice to have because you're looking at around £150 for these. And although they're great for me in terms of seeing my swim times, and I can break the drills down onto my goggles without having to use my watch, like I say, it's a nice to have. And then I've got some Aftershok's X trainers, which are waterproof headphones essentially, which is why I use my cap. So when I have these on, I then put my cap on and it holds them in place nicely. These for me are essential, but for anyone else, they are a nice to have, they're not an essential. So I highly recommend them, but not essential. So if you're going into the open water, then you will need a wetsuit, and not necessarily all the time, but especially in the UK, most of the time you will need a wetsuit. There are a few people that choose not to wear one, and that's on them. But for me, it's 100% a necessity because I don't like the cold, and the water temperatures never really get anywhere near warm enough for me to swim without a wetsuit. So that is all you need to do to get going in swimming. So if we just do a quick recap, you need swim goggles, you need somewhere to swim and some swimming trunks, and you can get training for your swimming. The second discipline we're going to look at is the bike. Now the bike is essential obviously because you need a bicycle. However, if you don't have a bicycle, you can go to the gym and use the bikes there. You can use Watt bikes that some gyms might have as well. And some of those are smart and you can link them to some different apps. And we'll talk about some apps in a second. But let's look at the essentials. So you've got a bike that you need to get going, and you can either get a road bike or a triathlon TT bike, or you can use your mountain bike. Now, it really doesn't matter what bike you have, as long as you are using a bike and you're able to cycle. That's in effect what you need. So you can do a lot of races on a mountain bike if you want. The most popular one would be a road bike and then followed by a triathlon bike. Now that's where the cost really starts mounting up. So let's look at some of the essentials that you need apart from the bike. Now, if you are going to be out on the road and cycling there to train, you need a helmet. Now, you need a helmet for a race anyway, so it is an essential bit of equipment that you need, but I highly recommend and advise that you use a helmet every time you're out on the road. So essential. Then you can, if you're using your own bike, you can get some cycling shoes and some cleats, and then that way you're clipping into the pedals. But again, that's not essential, and you can just use your trainers and normal pedals to cycle as you would normally if you're just doing a social ride. So might not be as much as what you initially thought, but in reality, that is all you need, is something that you're able to ride. So your bike. So whether it's a mountain bike, road bike, or triathlon bike, you're cycling, or a bike at the gym. You are pedaling, and that's ultimately what's going to get. When you get to a race, you obviously are going to need your own bike, but to get started, it's anything where you can cycle. So I mentioned about different apps. So there's loads of different apps that you can get, and one of the ones, the main ones, and I use it, is Swift. So it's a interactive game, if you like, that you link up with your turbo trainer. We're going to cover turbo trainers in a second, but ultimately it's a game that you play while you cycle. It's something to do is the best way to look at it, and I'll put a link to Zwift and you can have a look into them. But there's others that are called Trainer Road. There's some that that come with the type of turbo trainer you get. So if you use a Tax or a Wahoo, there's loads of different ones anyway, but the main one being, I would say, Zwift and Trainer Road. So I'll put some links down the bottom. You can have a look and do a bit of research on them. So let's talk about the turbo trainer. Now this is where it's going to set you back quite a bit. It doesn't necessarily have to. So you get a smart trainer and you get a, I don't know what it's a normal trainer, but we'll call it a dumb trainer for this one because it's not smart. So smart trainers, they link up to the apps, so like Zwift, etc., Trainer Road, and it will give your power and cadence, and it basically in effect makes your computer guy or girl move, and you can see your speed, etc., on there. So that's where the smart trainers come in, and they adjust your resistance on the trainer as well. So if you're going up, it makes it harder. If you're going down, the pedals become easier. So that's keeping it nice and simple. That is really what the smart trainer does. Then you've got your normal trainer or dumb trainer, and you can make those smart by getting cadence sensors, etc. So you can use those on the apps that I mentioned, or you can just cycle. So you're basically clipping your bike onto a trainer. So you've got a direct drive trainer, which is the one I've got, and I'll show you that in a minute. But you've got a direct drive trainer and a wheel-based one. So they vary in cost. The direct drive ones tend to be a lot more expensive, and the other ones, there's so many different types, and you can get some really cheap ones, and the cost does go up on those as well. So if you are going to be getting a wheel-based one, you then need to get I suggest that you would get a tire that goes specifically for the turbo trainer. So it's just a bit more hard wearing, and it won't wear out your tires that you're going to go out on the road in. So basically making the lifespan of your tires last longer, because again, the cost goes up on that. So then I would suggest a pair of cycling shorts or bib shorts, triathlon shorts, anything where a bit of padding and you're going to be comfortable on the bike. Depending on the distance that you've chosen to do, will vary on the sort of padding you need. So I tend to do all of mine with the triathlon suit or triathlon shorts, and that's enough padding for me. If I'm going on a long road ride, I'll wear cycling kits, and the pad on there is a bit thicker, but you'll get to know these. But essentially you need a cycling kit, and again, you can pick these up quite cheaply. You can get secondhand ones as well. So a helmet, a bike, some shoes and cleats if you decide that you're wanting to clip in to your pedals, and a helmet, and that's it. That's all you need to get going on the bike. And then when you're looking at the nice to haves, then you can start looking at direct drive turbo trainers, power meters, and the list is really endless. But we're going to try not go into all the nice to haves now, because like I say, there's just so many different out there and the cost really goes up. So if you do wanting, or you are wanting to know anything else on that, just leave some comments or get me on Instagram and message me. Happy to help you where I can. And that's it. You're good to go on the cycling. So lastly, it's running, and this is probably like swimming. It's really easy to get going. You need shorts, t-shirts, jogging bottom, whatever it is that you feel comfortable in running, and some trainers. Now, trainers are, again, a personal preference, and what I would 100% recommend, especially if you're brand new into running, you've never ran before, is go to a running shop and get a gait analysis done, and they will get the right shoe for you. Now, when I first started, I didn't have a clue about the different shoes. I just sort of went on looks. I still, to a certain degree, do, but I'm quite lucky in that I'm a neutral runner, so I need a neutral shoe, and you know, they're the easiest to come by. But there's so many different types of gait, and the shoe that you need, you might need a stability shoe, etc. So go and get that done. Most running shops will do it for free anyway, so it doesn't cost you anything. You're not committed to buy trainers, etc. or anything. So it is completely free, and you can get the right shoe that you need, which will keep you injury free and will just make the training experience and racing experience that much better. So like I said, when it comes to shoes, they are, to be honest, my weak points. And these are just some of the shoes that I have and the different ones. And the reason I'm going to show you is, so I justify it to myself that different shoes do different things for me, and also then obviously the color. So for those, as an example, these On shoes, which I love, as you can see. So I've got On and Nike is my sort of chosen shoe for now, but I've used loads of different ones previous years. I've used Asics, which I really loved at one stage. I've used New Balance, which I really loved again at one stage. I've tried the Hockeys, but I don't particularly like them. They just didn't work for me, but a lot of people swear by them. So it's personal preference, again, what you do like. So for me, those are when I do my long, slow runs. That's what I've chosen. Those are I will use when I'm just going for a nice steady sort of run, or if I'm going off-road for a bit. Those, again, another pair of Ons, again, steady runs, and I'll wear them at the gym. Just my sort of everyday shoe as well. They were nice for when I was working, because I'd normally, if I drive long distance, I wear trainers. And then if I forgot to pack my running trainers, I knew I always had a pair anyway to run in. So I'll use those. They're nice for the treadmill. When it comes to speed work, I will use these. I sometimes race in these. These are just different color ones that I've got. And then I've got my Nike Alpha Flies that I race in, which I've packed them away, and I keep them nicely hidden away because they're £250 pair of shoes. So they wrapped up nicely in the cupboard, and they only come out on race days. So like I say, there's loads and loads of different pairs of trainers that you can get. You don't necessarily have to, like I say, spend $250. I wouldn't suggest that at all. To be honest, I think, and I'll do a whole review on them at some stage when I get to do maybe another 10K or 5K race where I can really sort of put them to the test, because since I've run in them, and I digress a little bit, but I'll just explain before you go, you'll see a load of carbon shoes and everything, and you wanting to know, do you maybe need to buy them, because everyone's sort of, a lot of people are wearing them now. Yes, they do, I think, make you a little bit quicker, but I haven't really put them to a like for like test on a race. So when I say that I have done a race, I've done two 70.3s in them, but a big chunk of both of those races were on grass, and I think those shoes were not right. Well, they 100% weren't right for the terrain, so it was really hard to sort of judge whether I got any benefit from having the shoes. So hopefully soon I'll get to put them to the test in a 5, 10K half marathon race, where it's all on the road, and we can see. If not, I'll have Weymouth in September, 70.3, and that's all on road, so that'll be a good test for them. But let's go back to what you actually need. So you need a pair of trainers, comfortable socks, shorts, t-shirt, warm, whatever it is you feel comfortable in running, that's all you need to get going. A nice to have then, obviously, then we start looking at it, is some headphones. I use the Aftershocks ones. Again, I've done a whole video on Aftershocks. They're just really nice because I use them for the cycling, I use them for swimming, I use them for running. They bone conduction headphones, so you can hear the traffic, but the sound's still really good, so you can still listen to your music, but you can hear the surrounds, which is nice. Just it helps if like me, when cycling, you're a bit nervous. So anyway, they are nice to have. The Alpha Flies carbon shoes, nice to have. Don't need them. You just need, I wouldn't say go and spend 20 quid on some trainers, or necessarily buy secondhand trainers, because they'll be molded to someone else's foot, depending on how much they've been used. But ultimately, what you want to do is be prepared. You might need to spend in and around between 80 and 120 pound for a decent set of shoes that you've had sort of tested for your feet, so you know your gait, and that is all you need to get going from a running point of view. So now we've talked through all the 3 disciplines and what you need, and hopefully that's made it sort of clear to you that you don't need a great deal to get going, and there are a lot more nice to haves rather than essentials, and that's it. You can start your journey to triathlon and be part of this, you know, a sport that is very inclusive. It's fast growing, it's addictive. Like I said, if you watch any of the other ones, it was always just one Ironman. It was a bucket list for me, and that was it. 4 years on, and I'm hungrier than ever to keep going and do more races and bigger races and achieve more out of the sport. So it really sort of gripped me, and I've become very addicted to triathlon. My whole life revolves around it. The kids do it now. My wife does it occasionally, but we all train, we watch it together. So that's why I say it's very inclusive, and there's a great community on Instagram, and you get a lot of support. And you know, this is why how this channel, so if you're new around here, this is why this channel started, was just to help and appreciate. It's, you know, I'm not always going to get 100% right, and I rely a lot on people's comments and everything else to add in on where I've maybe missed off, or, you know, I'm not saying I have a load of experience, but 4 years worth of experience. I've tried and tested a lot of different things, and ultimately it's just quick videos to help you get into a sport that I love and has really helped me from a mental health point of view, and I've talked about that in other videos as well. So if you know you are struggling, this is a great sport to help you with your recovery, or just maintaining a positive mental health, because this sport really does do that for you. So hopefully that's helped. I'll touch on a few other nice to haves in a minute, and hopefully I will see you at a race. So let's just look at a few other nice to haves, but you could argue that they are quite essential. So one is a watch. Now they vary in cost, but ultimately what you're wanting to look at is one that does swim, bike and run, because that's what you're doing. You're in triathlon, and that's what you'll be training and using on there. So you can get a decent watch for in and around maybe 150 pounds, depending on what you want. One I would recommend is the Garmin 735 XT. Really great watch. It's lightweight, it has all the functions and loads more that you probably will never use. That is, I'd say it's essential because it really helps with your training, but again, we're trying to keep the costs down on this, so it is a nice to have, you could argue as well, but I would suggest if you can, get a watch, and you can keep track of all your training, load it up to Strava, Training Peaks, etc., all the different apps that you might be using, and it's a good way of monitoring what training you're doing, what effort you're putting into them, and also just to see your overall results and your progression as you go through training. Then you can get a heart rate monitor, again, not essential, but a nice to have, and they vary in cost as well, and you can get different bundles. Look on eBay as well for watches and heart rate monitors. You can pick up some really good secondhand deals, and that'll keep the cost low as well. A bike computer is, for me, it was really essential, and the only reason is because when I go out on the road, I always got lost. So I got a computer with maps built in so that I could find my way home, basically, or plan routes, etc. So it's really nice to have, and you can upload them onto here, and then you know what route you're doing before you head out. So that's really nice. But like I say, it's more essential than it's more nice to have than an essential. Some headphones, you know, again, not necessarily, well, they're not essential at all, because if you don't need to listen to music when you out running or cycling, or swimming for that matter. So loads and loads of different accessories that you can start building up and adding to your collection that will make training that bit easier, but also give you a bit more information so that you can train harder or train more efficiently. So loads and loads, and without going into all of that, you know, if someone that's a bit more experienced in triathlon is watching, you'll know that I've missed out a whole load of different things. If there's anything that I have missed out on that you deem as essential, then please by all means put it in the comments and let's help the new people into triathlon. So I hope that's helped. Thanks for watching. If you can subscribe, I'd really appreciate that. All it does is it just boosts the videos up in the channel, and it helps and more people become aware of it. And I've just set this up to help people in triathlon. It's a way of giving back. It's a sport that's helped me with my mental health, and a sport I love. It's growing. There's getting a lot more coverage from TV point of view, and the sport is just progressing really, really quickly. So I thought this is a great way to maybe help people come into the sport, but ultimately it's about me giving back something to a sport that really helped me. So thanks for watching. Hope that's helped. Like I say, if there's anything else you're wanting to know, just drop it in the comments, and either myself or other people will get back to you. I'll 100% get back to you, but other people might add into what I've shared with you today. So thanks for watching, and welcome to Triathlon.